All right, welcome back to Reflective Ryse podcast. Thank you for joining me for another episode today. I wanted to talk about this topic that more people than you think probably deal with on a regular day basis. Do you ever feel like you're watching the world and everybody seems to be doing the same thing, whether it's because everyone else is doing it or they just don't really know what to do with their lives? It kind of just seems like everybody's on this autopilot type life and they're moving through life without really stopping to ask themselves any kinds of questions about their life. Now, if you're anything like me, you probably ask yourself these kinds of questions all the time. For as long as I can remember, I've had a hard time connecting with what everybody else enjoys. Like the things that most people are drawn to, I often feel pushed away from. And when you feel like that for long enough, you might start to wonder, is something wrong with the world around me, or is something wrong with me? But is it really such a bad thing to not be like everybody else? When I was younger, I watched a lot of people around me make decisions and choices that played out many different ways. While a lot of people around me started doing things like drinking and smoking, I never really wanted anything to do with it. Even though it felt like everyone else was doing it, I couldn't get myself to even consider trying it. And because of that, I definitely felt left out of a certain part of life. I remember wondering why so many people were drawn to those things and why I wasn't. But even from an outside perspective, I never let that get to me, and I was okay living a life that I felt was true to myself. And what made that easier was the people that I surrounded myself with. I had some really good friends who knew that I didn't enjoy that kind of stuff, and they respected that decision of mine. And, instead of like shunning me out and not including me in things, they would do that kind of stuff on their own time and still spend time with me, playing basketball, going for rides, or just hanging out, whatever it was. And looking back, I think that mattered more than I realized at the time. Because if I had been surrounded by people who didn't respect my decisions in life, they might have tried to, pull me towards what they were doing and things that didn't feel right to me. And my life could have probably gone in a completely, entirely different direction. But the people who were truly my friends never let their choices and my choices get in the way of our friendship. And most of those people are still in my life today. Now, I bring that up because I'm probably not the only one who has felt that way. A lot of people probably know what it's like to be on the outside looking in. To look around and feel like everybody's following the same pattern, chasing the same goals, and calling it normal. Maybe it is normal to them. Maybe it does fit how their life aligns with their goals. But for me, I've always had a very hard time being okay with staying mediocre and following what everyone else is doing. I've never liked the idea of social norms telling me what I can and what I can't do. And there's this phrase that I hear all the time that's just the way life is. You just have to deal with it. And in most cases, this is people who have accepted something that they probably don't like, or they don't feel comfortable taking a risk in trying to change their life because they're very comfortable with where they're at. And they've stopped believing that life can be more than what they've already seen. To me, that kind of seems like giving up, because if everybody accepted life for what it is, nothing would ever change. Everybody would just be on this straight same line pattern. There would be no art. There would be no innovation. There would be no stories. There would be no healing. There would be no growth. I believe everything meaningful in life exists because someone believed that there was more to life than what everyone else was doing. Now, for people who want to do something with their life, life doesn't stay the way it is for them. The people who take action with their life don't just accept it for how it is. They work with what they have and turn it into something regardless of the circumstances and situation. If somebody tells you that your dream or your goals are unrealistic, you don't have to argue with them. The best way to deal with someone like that is to lead by example. And the truth is, people are influenced by what they see and not what they are told. I feel like a lot of people won't make changes on their own, but when they see somebody, either someone they know or someone they look up to, stepping out of the social norms and actually go after something that means something to them, it can, light a fire or cause a spark in them to actually do something with their lives. And if you make the decision to chase your dream or, take one step towards something that most people don't find normal, and if you can change just someone's life just by a little bit, then that can change the world more than not going after it. But choosing a path that's different than most can feel a little isolating at times. Even though it can feel empowering to decide to make a change, it will cause you to have to make sacrifices and make changes in your life that don't align with the people in your life. And that might make you feel more disconnected than ever before. But maybe feeling disconnected doesn't always mean something's wrong with you. Maybe it means you're aware enough to ask questions that can start to change your life. And these questions are things that most people aren't even stopping to think about. They just go along with their day. They don't even have the awareness at the time to stop and, question what is it that they really want, because they're on autopilot mode. They're just going through life, and having to make a change and ask yourself questions can be scary because you don't know what's on the other side, and you might realize that there's something better for you, and that will change your life entirely. So that is kind of scary probably to most people because they don't know what's on the other side, and they're just comfortable living day to day with what they're used to. And that is the biggest thing pulling everybody back from changing their life and everybody else around them. So when you find yourself ever feeling behind or disconnected from people, maybe that feeling doesn't mean something's wrong with you. Maybe it just means you're onto something bigger and better in your life, and following the crowd and being different is more meaningful to you than following the crowd. So what's next? What do you do when you feel disconnected from the world, when everybody seems to be doing the same thing every day, and you either wonder why you're not a part of it, or you wonder why they're all doing the same thing and you feel like you need to be pulled a different direction and do something else? The first step is to accept that feeling. Be okay with feeling different than everybody else. You don't have to necessarily go and just be like everyone else because that's what everyone's doing. That's what you have to do. That's just how the world works. That is complete BS, and I've never believed in that. I've never wanted to follow the crowd because that just means you're like everybody else, and what's the purpose and meaningfulness of being like everybody else? There is so much more behind having an authentic life, that you can have conversations with people and show them things that you've done that is completely different, and it'll stop people in their tracks and make them wonder what they're doing. Is that where they want to go? It's all correlated. So accept the feeling. Stop treating it like something's wrong with you. Feeling disconnected from everybody is not a weakness. It just might be a sign that you do not want to be on autopilot. And if everybody can relate to something, I would think that being on autopilot mode makes life feel really fast. And I don't think most people want life to go by really fast. Doing the same thing every single day, every day starts to blend together, and you can't even differentiate what yesterday was compared to last week. So I think that everybody would be totally okay if life slowed down for a little while. So next time you ever feel like you're on autopilot mode and you're following this same pattern of day to day, nothing's changing, take a step back, take a deep breath, start to clear your mind, and then just let questions come in. What do I truly want in life? Who do I want to be like? Surround yourself with people that you want to be like. And the more you start to take a step back and just let everything kind of flow into you, the more you will realize your purpose and what you truly want. And the next step is to just be honest with what you truly want. Start paying attention and maybe write down the things that make you feel truly alive. What is it that's calling you? What is it that excites you? What kind of life is meaningful to you, even if it doesn't make sense to anybody else? Once you have that, take action, whether it's a tiny step or even a big step. As long as you take one step forward towards what you want, then you're headed in the right direction. Don't let life slip by another second without going after what you truly want. Again, if you ever feel disconnected or left out or behind from the rest of the world, don't let it affect your progression. Maybe your goal was never to fit in with the world anyways. Maybe your goal is to become who you truly are within the world that we're all living in. Adjust to the world in a way that's comfortable for you. And if that means feeling different sometimes, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Maybe it's the beginning of a life that's truly meaningful to you. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time.